Hi guys. This is actually my first time giving a public speech in English, so indulge me please if I make mistakes. So the thing is called Reinvention and Influence, which is a cheesy title, but surprisingly it makes sense about what I'm going to say. To say a few things about me, right? I'm a web video producer, so I make videos for, we might say that for a living, and I've been doing that for about 5 years now, and mostly on YouTube, but not only on YouTube. I'm a blogger as well, and blogger is a weird term in today's internet because I've been called that long before I had a blog. So people just call like public persons bloggers for some reasons in the internet. But last month I launched my blog, so now I can call myself a blogger. And I also do a lot of things in social media, and I know it's trendy to call yourself a social media ninja, but I'm more of a fantasy kind of guy, so I went with a blacksmith, right? And I authored 2 books, one of video game criticism and the second one about web video, and it went okay with them. So this is me, and it all boils down to one word, which is influence, because I think every public person in the internet at some point will be called an influencer, and calling yourself an influencer might be a bold statement and kind of not cool right now, but trust me, it will happen at some point, because every medium that you use, be it video or blog or just social media, Facebook, Instagram, things like that, it's just a tool, right? It's just a tool of communicating and of influencing people. And if you're not influencing your audience in one way or another, then you're not doing a very good job being that person, the kind of person I am. I've got a few numbers to show off, just if I bet most of you don't know me, so this is my credibility, right? So I've produced videos that got over 100 million views, and the profiles, Facebook profiles I created have this many fans or likes or whatever, and here you see. I've sold over 9,000 books, which is a very good result for someone who didn't go through the traditional Polish retail channel, be it Empik or whatever from this industry. I self-published that, and I founded a publishing house. It sounds very bold, but it's just a small publishing house. And it went okay, right? I'm not sure of that, but I think there might be a chance no self-publisher ever sold more books than myself in Poland, but I don't have numbers for that, but it's just a speculation. So the thing I'm going to be talking about mostly today is self-reinventing, which, as I've said, is a very cheesy term, but you're going to see that who I am today and what I've done so far in the internet was very much based on self-reinventing myself in like closed periods of time, one time at a time, right? Okay, so this is like my timeline in the internet. So I was a video game web show host for a few years. That was my day job that I don't have anymore right now. I'm just I just do things for myself now. Then I became a video game critic as opposed to a video game journalist, meaning that criticism is a higher form of analyzing medium. I have given lectures during that time about video game analysis and evaluation in Jagiellonian University, so that was cool. Then I became a comedian, so that was a pivot, right? And a YouTube partner, which means just that I started doing videos on YouTube but getting revenue from it. That's all that means, really. But it sounds cool, right? YouTube partner. Then I became a web video evangelist, which is another cheesy term for myself, but really I really started to help the web video industry and the web video creators to realize themselves commercially and get money from what they did, and well, I kind of helped shape the industry that's really taking off this year. Um, then in the late 2012, I came up with this idea that Marek told before, which was introducing different characters than myself in the public space of the internet. But I'm gonna get to that later. And this year, I'm doing another pivot, which is entering the lifestyle and travel blogging industry, which is very lucrative at this time. And this is for commercial reasons mostly, but it's also a cool thing to do, to travel around the world and get paid for it, right? So who wouldn't want to go do that? I also started a very small social media agency that specializes in helping clients from the video game industry. So you see that everything leads to another thing in this timeline. And I think of this process as building my own, like a snowball made of online faces that I take, or a katamari, if anyone knows what katamari is. So it's just transporting to an extent. And my idea about that, about changing the thing you do when you're a influencer, so-called, is basically not to overthink it and to be spontaneous when you've got a cool idea. Then you should just go for it. And this is a video game that some of you might know, and all of you should know, which is called Minecraft. And the thing with Minecraft was that Notch, Markus Persson, the creator of Minecraft, he just made a really early alpha version of the game and then released it, and it just clicked with the community. A lot of people started enjoying that, started playing that, and it got hype from the very fact that people just play it. You know, they just downloaded it, and the game started. The author started building on this success by adding new features and just interacting with his community, and thus he created one of the most successful video games of our time by introducing a very early unfinished product to the market. So this is kind of my take on that, which wasn't made in an aware way. I just went with the flow of the internet. So in 2011, I wrote my first book, and I needed something to promote it in the internet. I already had some audience which knew me from my previous job in video games, so I didn't have to start from scratch, but it was a stretch after all. I started a YouTube channel just to promote a book, but I kind of realized that, you know, when you want to do content marketing, because that was what I was trying to do, you can't really focus only on the product, because people don't want to hear just about the product that they don't know about yet. So this makes no sense. So I just started doing entertainment, just to let more and more people know about myself and possibly get interested with the things I do. And there's also a very, well, it's not funny, it might be interesting, that I created my personal Facebook page in late 2010, which was at this, now it seems natural, like, you know, he's a blogger, he has online presence, he needs a page on Facebook. But at that time, that was actually shocking for many people, and it was definitely out of my comfort zone, because people just went, wow, look at his ego, right? He's making his own fan site, because there were no pages on Facebook that time. They were actually called fan sites. So you create your own fan site, and that doesn't sound right. So I came up with this idea for a show called Zapytaj Beczkę, which was very simple. It was just me answering questions from the internet, answering comments, reading comments out loud, and answering questions. And it was supposed to be a very serious, well, not very serious, but serious show where I just talked about things I like, some very basic stuff. But as it turned out, It was the internet, right? So most of these questions were ridiculous, retarded, and stupid. So I had to work with that. And what to do else? Answering stupid questions, then give stupid answers. And 2 years later, I have this, which is the same show, but it turned out to be one of the most successful stand-up comedy shows in Poland, which was just born from the fact that I came up with stupid answers to stupid questions, and that was it, right? I started raising the bar for production value and adding new running jokes, and the whole thing kind of took off at, I know, around episode 10. I even got a sponsor for that, so that was a quite a good thing. And I think that this show is the most successful thing that I've built product-wise, because a show definitely might be called a product. And you see how this was born. This was born from a very simple, straight idea of answering questions, and it just evolved with the community. And this is how I see it. Whoops. All right. No. This is how I see it, why it became so successful. Like my flow of putting things out there right now is just getting to a point where they're shaping up, they're not perfect, I'm just happy with where I am, and I just release it. Release an alpha and a beta. I mean, in web video production, these terms don't really mean anything, but you know, an alpha version is something intuitive. It's just not finished, and the shape is not really there. But you can put it out there and make people react to it, make people comment, and you can just build on their feedback and see what they're happy about and what they don't like. You have to cope with the criticism, obviously, but every criticism has its roots somewhere. Even if someone on the internet writes that you have a stupid-looking nose, right? It doesn't mean you should get a nose job, but it means maybe you set your lighting wrong or something like that. And the profit part on this slide is, I don't know, it's just there. All right, so this is the idea of how I do things online and how it kind of let me be where I am today. But the funny thing that I want to show you today is really creating virtual personas. And I'm really inspired by the Emperor from Star Wars, because it always comes back to me when I think about what I'm doing online. Think about it. He was head of a government, and at the same time he was head of the rebellion that wanted to overthrow the government, right? So this is brilliant, and this is this is just how things should be done on the internet. So imagine you could become your greatest nemesis and your greatest hater, and to organize all the people who don't like you in a certain community. And so it all started, right? So as always with me, it started with being spontaneous improvisation and not having a plan at all. So there was this guy. In Zapytaj Beczkę, in this main show of mine, he just appeared as a character who was supposed to be like a parody of a middle school student who's who's a smartass, who knows everything best, who, you know, has all the negative features of an average internet user. It was, yeah, you know the term gimbus, people from Poland. For people not from Poland, gimbus is a negative adjective about middle school students, or some people say that being a gimbus is a state of mind, which is actually true because some people in their 30s behave like that. But doesn't matter. Gimbus started off as a single joke. The first thing he said ever, I think it was like flaming on me that when I do jokes, I should behave seriously because I'm speaking publicly in the internet. And then when I started talking about serious things, he was flaming about that I should do jokes because this is boring. So these comments are actually based on real-life comments from the internet, and that's the idea behind Gimbus. He just says stupid things people say for some reason, and Gimbus was not a big thing for a few months after his birth, but then we decided to create a Facebook page for him, and this is what happened. So he became a meme of sorts. And people started doing their own versions of him. You see where this is heading, and the main point of this is this thing. This guy, in 2 months, he became 5 times more popular than myself. The joke's on whom right now, right? And it was like the worst possible celebrity to follow, right? The worst possible Facebook page, the worst possible content, the most stupid opinions people say over the internet, like very negative message and all that. At some point I decided to take things further, and I entered YouTube. I mean, Gimbus entered YouTube. I don't know if this works. All right, so this is the kind of video he makes. I created a separate channel for him where this is all there is, really. It's just him sitting, not saying anything, behaving stupidly. Right now he was trying to drink a beer, but because he's about 13, he doesn't like it. Right? So it's funny, right? I have a certain audience, he has a certain audience, and then this happens. And it's right. So this is the number of views this stupid, ridiculous, retarded video gets, right? And it turns out that I've created a prank on YouTube itself, which kind of exposes the stupidity of a model where you get paid for the number of views you get. And this is a comparison that I show at every time I talk about this. So on the right, there's a video of Gimbus just eating a hamburger in Lisbon. This is actually shot in Lisbon, not that it matters, right? But this is a high production value, high budget, at least for internet standards, production about my girlfriend and myself going to a restaurant, having a good time, and it's like a travel channel kind of thing. This thing cost, I don't know, the food itself cost 200 euro. The work it took to get this video done was, well, it was not an amount of money, but rather amount of time. But it was costly, tiresome. The hardware required for that was expensive as well. So you see the picture, and obviously the number of views between these two videos is more or less the same, and and that itself proves a point, right? Of what Gimbus does. And obviously this is just fun, and these are just jokes, and this doesn't serve anything. But Gimbus has some practical use, as it turns out. He's very successful. I mean, the Facebook profile, which has about 150,000 likes right now, it's very effective in reaching young audience, and it's very interactive in a way. They do a lot of pictures with him. At some point, I think each post had about 2,000 likes on this site, so you see where, I mean, you see the scope of that. And for me, as a, let's say, professional content creator in the internet, this is a very good thing, because I can redirect traffic from this stupid kind of thing to things I really want people to see. And it's always good to have a critical mass of sorts when you do something, when you put out something on the internet. One of my favorite uses of Gimbus was making fun of people, and particularly of people who don't like me or who criticize me, because every time someone criticizes me, I just copy-paste right? And publish that as Gimbus. And this is like the ultimate diss for that. Um, right. Mm. And Gimbus, like the workflow of the Gimbus's profile is that he shares everything I do, but just criticizes me. Every time I post a picture with any other guy in this picture, he shares it and writes something like, "Oh, it's Chris with his boyfriend." And this joke was made about 200 times already, and it gets funnier every time because this character is so stupid he just can't think of anything else to say, right? Or when I post a picture of a meal, because I do that a lot as a public person in the internet, and you have to post your food. He always says something like he eats puke again, or very like this kind of humor is very specific, very non-creative, but it's funny because it's so primitive. And yeah, so I had Gimbus, I had myself for that matter. Half a year passed, and there is another, the guy you probably know. This is a totally different thing. This is Krzysztof Gonciarz, who hosts, who is a business coach, first of all. He's an entrepreneur, he's a businessman, he talks about money all the time. The first time he appeared in a video, he told the audience to stand up in front of the computer and say, "I'm not afraid of money." And obviously he's a parody of a business coach. He's very strictly based off of Robert Kiyosaki. I don't know if you know this guy. He's more or less the same as Krzysztof Gonciarz, only that guy is serious. And yeah, and also at some point this guy started hosting a show about being a pickup artist. Yeah, because for some reason, when you host a show, I mean, I'm talking about real life coaches right now. When you coach about business and self-motivation, for some reason you also coach about picking up girls. I don't know why this comes in pairs, but obviously we did a lot of research about guys who do that seriously, and you see this is a totally different kind of content than Gimbus, right? This is the production value is high. He's over the top. The body language on him is supposed to be impressive. It is obviously ridiculous, but he's supposed to be over the top. Things like that, and this is for video, and he also has this Facebook page, which is also quite popular, only not as popular as Gimbus or myself, which is flattering to some extent. But you see the kind of things we post there. It's just stupid, cheesy slogans that don't have any sense, which are supposed to be parody of self-motivational gurus. And also things like that. This is actually, the picture is called decapitalization. Get it? And these are actually guys, the guy on the right is PR of Sotrender. So, yeah. And Gonciarz serves a totally different purpose than, than Gimbus. First of all, it's enjoyable to perform as Gonciarz and to do his content because it's just fun. I mean, I never have fun of being in Gimbus's shoes, but this is totally different thing. And at some point, he got really a lot of attention from the IT industry, the startup scene, media industry, online industry. For a lot of people out there, like professional. I don't know how you call people who work online, probably just people, but I hope you know what I mean. So for a lot of people in the industry, that's a real person actually, and if not, then this is like the main thing I do. So, and I'm happy with that. Actually, yeah, there's this story that people from very high high management in corporations actually watch Gonciarz, which is very flattering to me. I've got a friend working in Springer, which is one of the biggest media conglomerates in Europe or the world or whatever, and he said to me that the board of directors of Polish Springer, they exchange puns of Krzysztof Gonciarz during like their meetings, right? And same goes for Orange, for example. So I've penetrated the boards of directors of corporations, which is good. And this created commercial opportunities for Krzysztof Gonciarz, because as it turned out, some companies really want him as a face for an ad or for a contest or for really. I actually got a few offers from banks to, for Krzysztof Gonciarz to promote some services, which is ironic in a way, but okay, who am I to disagree? And actually, well, Gimbus is quite obvious that it's obvious that Gimbus is a joke. I mean, no one would take it seriously, but Gonciarz actually confuses people, and there are a lot of people who take it seriously, and they just I don't know, comment that, hey, this makes no sense. Like, duh, that's the point. And this is the favorite thing that ever happened to me. This is from Gazeta Wyborcza, the main newspaper in Poland, which wrote that there was this huge like marketing deal with bloggers that Orange did, and Gazeta Wyborcza actually messed up my name with Krzysztof Gonciarz and just wrote that Orange is doing a deal with this guy known for business school and pickup artist course, right? So this is actually something they did, and this is amazing. All right, so there are three people standing here right now, reaching for three different audiences, and the practical side of this is that cross-promotion between these personas and between these sites is very high. And every project I take on has a very easy start, well, very easy, that's maybe too far, but has an easy start just because I can redirect different kinds of traffic from different communities that I've built, and and as I said in the beginning, it to some extent it just boils down to influence, and they influence people in a way comedy does, in a way just stupid pictures on the internet do, but they create a complex network of online presences, and they're trolling, obviously. This is actually my April Fool's joke, saying, that Krzysztof Gonciarz announcing that I'm the fictitious character which he invented, and the joke was that he considered himself too intelligent to become successful in the internet because the internet likes stupid people, and so he created me, this stupid guy. And obviously, we're back to the idea of self-reinventing, which I may have taken to the extreme, because I'm not saying everyone should, create a fictitious character or do comedy for that matter, but when you're thinking about personal branding online, I think that many people are not, shouldn't be stuck in the paradigm of themselves. This sounds weird, but when you do different things, I mean, everything I do, I have done for the last few years, they kind of added to the snowball of online presence that I spoke about, and it turns out that, I don't know, I had a position as a video game critic, and it turns out that 1 of the 10 people who like video games like, I don't know, travel shows. So when I started hosting a travel show, I had an easier start because people just liked watching me. And we can, like, I can describe these rules of engagement as something that I just do on a regular basis, just thinking of a new thing, you can do, you want to do, and just going for it without ditching the previous stuff, obviously, because it's not the matter of, you know, just showing the middle finger to the people who like you for something. It's just a matter of not staying in one place for too long and to finding different approaches to what can be done. And one point I'm particularly sensitive about is the third one, which is staying difficult to define. I bet there's just a few people in the world, or people who I know, who know about everything I do. And it might sound mysterious, but for many people, I'm just the guy who made Gonciarz. For many people, I'm just the guy who gave lectures, or do comedy, or talk about video games. And I don't have anything against that. It's nice to have many faces and to approach different people as, you know, as a different authority of sorts. Yeah, and working like Emperor Palpatine, or Palpatine, I don't know, is always a good idea. There's no coincidence that he became the emperor. And the thought I want to kind of leave you with is that online you can make a fool of yourself and still be considered a serious person, because the paradigm of fun has changed during the last 20 years. 20 years ago, when you, as a consumer, when you wanted to see something funny or do something funny publicly, what options did you have? You could have watched Śmiechu Warte, or America's Funniest Home Videos, for that matter, which is surprisingly close to what YouTube is now. But, you know, making a fool of yourself is sometimes a good idea, and it creates this thick, useful shell which makes you difficult, makes for people difficult to criticize you, because who's gonna tell you you're foolish when you're making a fool out of yourself, right? All right, and that's all from me.
Thank you. I have a feeling that you will get a few more views on all your videos on all your channels after this.
Hopefully.
So, do you guys have any questions? I have a question, because you said that one persona is not enough, and then you should keep on reiterating on your own stuff. So, combining the two is like, when will you reach the point when one person is not enough for all those personas? Because, you know, I'm speaking from a position of, I started many things myself, and I know there's a limit to the things you can do simultaneously. Or maybe there isn't, maybe you don't have any.
Translating this to I don't know, entrepreneurial area, I think it would just mean that one business is not enough, right? So that might work.
Yeah, but how many more personas can you launch and still be able to keep up with all those different
not
profiles?
Many, I think.
Not many.
No. It's diversifying too much is not very good as well in this business.
Are you thinking of any female personas?
Nah,
No?
I don't find that funny. I mean, dressing up as a girl.
All right, guys. There's one question.
With having 3 personas, how many YouTube channels do you have? Do you have one for each, or you have,
I have
all
6.
3? You have 6 YouTube channels.
Yeah, but some of them aren't. Some of them are white labeled, so people don't even know that's me.
Awesome.
I'm working with Łukasz, who is co-author of some of the comedy I do, and he also posts many things on Gimbus and Gonciarz's profiles on Facebook. He's a ghostwriter.
Do you have any more questions?
Except from me. So what were the like, as you said that as a persona and then like as a comedy, you know, character, it's difficult for you to actually make mistakes because then, you know, you can always turn it around, or one of your personas will, you know, like will use it to the advantage. But have you made any mistakes, and particularly in terms of like social media and like joining some profiles or like some strategies for like, okay, I should have kept those two YouTube channels together because like it would have given me a better, you know, like better outcomes.
I think it's really hard to tell, you know. I mean, what would be the fact that inspires you to think so? It's hard to tell what would happen. I think I've made a few mistakes by entering some flame wars. I shouldn't have done that, and that's always a bad thing. So, in a social media crisis, it's good to remain silent sometimes.
Okay, one more question here. And
Do you think you'll have to kill one of the personas at some point? And
To
if
kill?
so, how do you gonna approach it?
Oh man, that would be harsh. I mean, I'm used to these guys.
How are you feeling with, I mean, with the fame and these things in the internet? They're gonna stay there forever. How are you feel about that?
That's a good point. I think you can't rely on the internet fame too much because it's an what's the expression? Some kind of ocean that has waves on it, right? And as for the so-called fame, when you're famous in the internet, it's funny because you can never tell if someone knows you or not. I mean, when you're in TV, you can assume that people more or less know you, and in the internet it works like that. I go to a mall and I see someone who's just staring at me weirdly, and I never know. Does he know who I am, or is he just weird? And this happens more often than you think.
Just one more question. Are you doing live streaming on YouTube? Because recently, when you become a full Google partner, they give you the options now to go live, like a live channel TV. Are you using that option now?
I've tried it, but, well, not to a very high extent so far.
Because you did say that you're answering the comments. So are you answering the comments live, or are you answering
no,
the comments?
No. It's always scripted in a way, right?
Scripted. So you're not doing live streaming right now.
Answering live would be difficult, comedy-wise, you know.
Yeah.
You'd have to have a different set of skills that
But
I
you
do.
do realize YouTube is now changing over to a TV station on your channels now with the live streaming.
Well, I'm not sure. Live streaming is a different cup of tea, really.
Okay.
Hi there. So different kind of question. I used to build a brand around myself, as you did. You obviously took it to a whole different level. So, from the business point of view, aren't you afraid that building everything around you will require you to work and work and work
Yeah.
every time?
I am
Yeah,
afraid.
Yeah. So the second part, what are you trying to do with that, if anything?
Having a social media agency and the publishing house is kind of a way of escape, but unfortunately, all of that is also based around me as a I don't know, spokesperson at least. But I'm trying to get out of that system. You know? I mean, you're right. You have a very functional business and a huge online presence, and then I don't know, you get hit by a hooligan in your face, and then your face is broken, and what are you left with? It can happen. Risk assessment in this industry is unprofessional right now.
all right, any more questions?
Good one. Help me out, guys. It's no. It's a middle school student, but said in a negative way. It's like a stupid person from no. It's more like a mean person. I think mean or stupid, maybe stupid middle school student.
Like immature, right?
Immature.
Yeah.
I don't know.
I mean, the origin of the word comes from. Yeah, we can tell you. I think everyone, probably most people here realize where it comes from. So we can tell you like off the mic where it comes from, because there's a whole naming there. But okay, thank you so much. Yeah.
Thank you.